How's it going? There we go. I have terrible news. One of my earbud goopies is gone. Look at it, it's naked. Hello? Earbud goopy down. Anyways, we hate naked earbuds in this household. I have a whole cup full of like extra earbud goopies. It has to be a name for them. And it's all the way across my room, and I simply cannot be bothered to get up right now. I cannot be asked. Are levels okay? Is music okay? Are we good and goopy? Seems fine. Wonderful. Okay, let me open up my maps. Here we go. Flat Earth. Let's jump back in. I'm so excited to mess with this. Okay, so I know the Spooma Mansion. Wait, what do I have in here? Oh, there's literally nothing in the Spooma Mansion because I started making it and then I was like, Kaylee, I can't do this. Can you do it instead? And they did. Oh, I have Natantes. Look at this. This was a first version of Natantes that never got finished. We have the Mellow Water. This is a map from my procrastination book. It looks cool so far. Can I open it? I kind of want to see it again. I didn't put a map in the book this time, but I have a map in my head that I put here. It's beautiful. North is sideways here, because apparently I can't make a single map that's just pointing upwards. But yeah, I like it. Want feedback or just reading it? Whatever you got. If you got feedback, I'd appreciate it. But there's no necessity. I'm not trying to do anything with it immediately. Anyways, let me focus. Let me focus. Completely unrelated. I think I also figured out what was going on with the Minecraft lag. I still have to test it out with the stream. But I think it was largely due to distant horizons. Focusing, I don't know her. I don't know her. Okay, so I did a little bit of thinking at myself. Let me pull this up. So we have a raised portion of the world where this map is. And I was like, okay, we did all this work on tectonic plates and wind currents and everything, and I don't want to throw all that out the window, but I was thinking that it would be fun. Here we go. Thoughts I had between streams. If the climate could be affected by the cliffs around the world. So imagine like the wind currents pick up the further out towards the cliffs you get, and so then the colder it is if you're going out further away in the circle. Does that make sense? And then maybe like kind of fitting the mountain formations around that. Thinking, I don't know her either. But then, you know, you could take like the mountains and like move them around in a like vaguely circular shape if the plates are like lining up with the movement of, I don't know, moving outwards in a circle, if that makes any sense at all. From my very limited understanding of current patterns, I think it could still work to have this be a stormy area in the middle. I think that makes sense. And I think it was Rye, you had the idea of like clouds having fallen to the earth. And it could work well together. The earth pushes up, sky falls, they meet in the middle, and here we are. I don't know how much change I want to actually do on the map because of that. Watch the sky fall as it crumbles. I'm gonna get copyright striked. But I was thinking about adding a couple other like blobs that are kind of, I don't know, sticking in a outwards direction. I think I'll just experiment with it a little bit. But we also said we want to do a little history, a little species building, and a little volcano building. But I want to add a couple blobs. The blobs are calling to me. Copyright struck. Where do I... If I do that, though, this won't be desert anymore. You know, if Eclipse comes through, I should ask her if any of this makes sense. She's now my local expert. But let's change the color over here. I just want to see... That's the wrong layer. I want to see how this feels. We make this a little frosty instead. That's a lot of frosty. But it was also a lot of orange before. Let's tone it down just a touch. That does kind of look cool. I think maybe we add a couple other little blobs. Like here. We're gonna experiment. We'll see what feels good. I don't want these to be big land masses. That's probably too many. That's probably a couple too many. But I want them to be turned into little striations. Let's tweak. So I've totally lost every single train of thought that was in my head. It looks like it could be circular. I think there could be a centerpiece in the ocean between the two main islands. Yeah, I definitely think there could. Make a little island in there. We could have a little volcano in there, in the middle. What was I gonna say? I don't even know. The land of storms. That's kind of epic. Sleeping dragon, which everyone thinks is a volcano. You've literally just described the plot of my second procrastination book. We can definitely do that here. There's nothing stopping us. When lightning struck the great waters, our island burst forth from the deep. That's epic. Can I copy this? Let's pop this into here. Let's try to set this up by stream. Okay, what is today's date? This is the 13th. It's Friday the 13th, you guys. Happy Friday the 13th. Fry 13th. Let's pop that in there. Rye 13th. There are 12 other ryes out there. And none of them can count up to 13. Except for you. That looks like something. I think I shrink this a little bit more here. Let's pull this in a little bit. Oh, I remembered my thought from earlier. Imagine if, like, The further out in some places you get away from the center of this area, the faster some of the currents go. I thought it would be cool to have people out there. Imagine like a sort of pirate situation, but they're picking up people who get too close to the edge and can't get back. Not a pleasant sort of pickup. The Stranded. That's a good name. I've described the four lands. What are the four lands? Unless you don't want to spoil it here. How do I change that? This has a highlight on. None. There we go. I kind of hate the shape of this so far. What are the chances I accidentally build a real world continent again today? Okay, that's enough to start with. Those look kind of cool. So far, so good, probably. If we have clouds that are touching down on Earth, where do you think would be a good place for that? I want to work on this blob. The four lands are four lands, which were made by dragons. Each of the lands was made by a different dragon and has a different cultural theme. Daydream is sleep, wonder and rest. Hibernation is evolution. Hibernation? It's evolution. Being able to adapt to nature. Technopolis is creativity and progress, and Trogon War is... Oh, I remember Trogon War. You may recognize the name Trogon War. There it is. That's really cool. I didn't know that was in your book. Let's shrink this a little bit more. I don't even know how we denote clouds on the map. We'll figure it out. I don't have Incarnate Pro. Do I have cloud stamps? I have fluffy white trees. I don't have clouds. I just have these trees. It's pronounced like Trojan War. Oh, okay. What if the clouds fell because what if the clouds fell between the continents because storm clouds? That'd be different from the lightning myth idea. Because storm clouds? How do you mean? Storm clouds make them fall? There'd be a lot of clouds there. Absolutely. Okay, what was the bit that I wrote down earlier? On land, the great waters, our island bursts forth from the deep. We can definitely make that work together if we want to. Hang on, let me pull this up. There we go. We can definitely make that work. I mean, people have different myths for the same things, right? People have different interpretations for the same things. Clouds are like the storm god's corpse or something. That'd be kind of epic. Although then we have to kind of define some mythology, right? Or pantheon. We don't even have anything as simple as a heaven or hell yet. How does this look? Okay, it's looking kind of real. I might delete this blob down here. Or warring god. Ant god when? That's the only god we need, baby. Blop. There we go. It looks suitably mappy. I concur. I concur. Clipped. Oh, me saying that's the only god we need. I can't believe this. Snail god, the god of the... Wait, why do I actually... I really like... Snail. Snail my god. Snail god. The travelers. All right. Let me fill in some more mountains, and then I think let's try to tackle a culture. I kind of think let's start in the middle, because I know we had some ideas about the marshy bits in here, and we'll start building and see what makes sense for culture and theology and all that, because they take their homes with them. Their gomes. I actually love that so much. That's amazing. Okay, should we plop like a volcano island in the very middle here, do you think? If I do the add button and we just do like a little... And then let's just... Oh, that's too much. I wish I could shrink the brush just a little bit more. Or it's a massive fire snail. That kind of goes hard. Massive fire snail? Like those volcano... What do you mean like those volcano snails IRL? That's too big of a lump off. No, I kind of like it like that. That'll do for now. Okay, hold on. Volcano snail. Scaly-footed gastropod. Or volcano snail. Deep sea hydrothermal vent snail. Marine gastropod mollusk. Are you kidding? That is the most metal-looking snail I've ever seen. Lives in some of the hottest underwater volcanic vents with a shell of iron sulfide to keep itself alive. That's crazy. And of course the volcano snail is red and black. Oh, for real? That's nuts. Oh my god. They're gorgeous. Okay, that's definitely not a real photo. I hope that's not AI. It's following me. Nature is so cool. Okay, I think I want to put on some more mountains. That's what I was going to do. Stamp scale. I think we had it for the big mountains at like 22. Shrink it down just a little bit. We'll start them over here, I think. Oh, that looks like a trident. That's fun. That's pretty cool. Yeah, could easily be called that. Although Georgie might sue me. I accidentally named one of the regions in my procrastination book the same. It's a name from a Game of Thrones region, so I have to change that. I didn't even realize. The Trident? Yeah, it's where this river splits into 3 different rivers. So different, you know, geographical formation, rivers and mountains, but yes. Yeah, I mean, we can definitely go for it. I can take him on, right? I'm not scared. I have a few that go across, maybe like a so. I keep constantly messing up and making crown lands and stormlands for my setting. You know what I always get confused is I play Skyrim and it's like Whiterun and then Riverrun from Game of Thrones all the time. I think that's enough for now. Let me go add some little bitty baby mountains. And then I think we jump into the marshes. I think we get marshy. I think we get soggy. The Soglands. No. 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 Marsh shouldn't be called the bog. It should be called the Sog. Why is that actually kind of good? Why is that actually kind of good? Sogs are a real thing? Tell me about sogs. Tell me about sogs while this beautiful piano music plays. Soft or marshy piece of ground, a swamp, a bog, a quagmire. Forget that they're called quagmires too. That's so fun. It might be the sog. It might be the sog. Who am I to say no? I know I have a lot of unsafe changes, but I'm going to make just a few more incarnate, okay? I cannot believe this. How could I resist? How could I refuse? You know the irony? I actually am a bit soggy right now. My hair is not dry. Don't tell anyone. And I'll never admit it again. I'll never admit it again. That kind of went into the bay. There we go. Clip, clip. No. I'm going to ruin my reputation. Oh my god, is tectonic plates not being widely accepted also why there's that single lone lonely mountain in Lord of the Rings? What is this spy music? Because I've always thought that doesn't make a single bit of sense. There would not be a single mountain there, right? But that's okay. I'll give him a pass. That looks fun. I feel like I could zone out and do these mountains forever. You can't hear the music? It is fairly quiet. I could turn it up. Right now it's spy music. Do you hear that? Is that too loud? Do we have any others? Or is that all the ones that I did? I think that's all of them. Look at this beautiful little world. I think I add a little more cold over here. Ooh, that's a lot. Okay. Beautiful. I concur. Do we have any other good ground colors? We have just stone. I might take it and just lower this a little bit. I have a lot of changes. I know. I'll save them soon, I promise. Thank you, Nightbot. I love you. Mwah. Okay, let's save. I think it's time for the SOGs. I did. I do have a Discord. Do you have a Discord? Also, hi, Frosty. I hope you're having a good day. We're making the SOGs. Congratulations. I'll have to check it out. Okay. What did we come up with for this before? Wasn't this where we were talking about ants? Pretty bad day. I hope it gets better. Yes, ants. I've lost my train of thought again. A few days ago, Nightbot would have taken you out for that brick. Okay, we had talked about ants being like, well, not literal ants, I don't think, but ant-based somethings, ant-inspired somethings, bridging from place to place in what I guess is now called the Sogs. I kind of really... Oop, that's my fanfic of Game of Thrones. Not mine, the one that I'm reading. I kind of enjoy the clouds being somewhere in the middle, around here. Clouds next to Sogs. I don't know if that will have any implication on what we're doing, but... Yeah, I'm reading a fanfic that's just somebody finished the Game of Thrones books. It's like 600,000 words long. It's very good. It's very, very good. It's very well done. And I'm... Wait, where'd it go? I'm 63 chapters in out of 113, so I've still got a while to go. When I finish this fanfic, I'm reading yours, Frosty. It's next on my list. Okay. So, we have the Sogs. Should we make a new tab for the Sogs? Sogs. Yeah. Should I read the actual books first before the fanfic? If you have a good summary for the books, you might be able to understand it. But the books are very different from the show. The first book and first season, pretty much identical, and then they branch off very, very rapidly. And so by the time you get to book 5, it is a incredibly different story from season 5. Like, different characters, different plot points, the characters are in different places, they're doing different things. Yeah, Game of Thrones fic. No, Frosty writes fics too, which I don't think you need to have a deep understanding of all the source material for. Thank goodness, since it's like, what, 15 books now? Oh my goodness. Per Kiko. Preach. Yeah. We love AUs. We truly do. Hang on, I have message. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Let's start setting up the Sogs. Is that one of your new emojis? Did they go through? Where's my something? Help. Oh, I'm writing in that instead. There we go. Oh, help. Help. There we go. All of them went through. Oh my god, those are so good. Those are so good. Okay, so we have ant inspired, unless we literally do want just giant ants. My Discord panel do not worky. Thank you for letting me know. Does Nightbot link worky? If you scroll up to Nightbot. Giant ants, giant ants. We can just go ants. Giant ants. Add the link. As Pop Paste, it doesn't have a working link. Interesting. Should I post a link? Maybe I need to change it. Yes, bridges. Hang on a second. Edit the link. Expire never. Number of uses? No limit. Copy the link. Hopefully that's happy. We haven't even talked about, like, creatures or anything. Oh, you're already in? What is this server photo? I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I put it in there as like a test thing when I was just setting it up, and I was like, I'm gonna change it, and then I didn't change it. And then I didn't change it. Okay, so we have giant ants. Ants be bridges, and then we had also mentioned the idea of semi-aquatic ants, maybe. Would you like me to draw you a profile pic? Potentially. I have no idea what it should look like. But if you have any ideas, I'd be very open to hearing it. Okay, so we're in basically a marshland. We have big old ants being bridges. We also talked about this being like a trading center of sorts, because in our little map, this could be like the only way to get to that continent right across the water. And so then we also said this would be an area that's prone to flooding because of how soggy it is. Maybe prone to some storms too. Prone to storms near fallen clouds. We talked about our clouds that fell down to Earth. I am wondering about popping down little trees that go there. Eclipse, hello. A soggy bread profile picture. Oh my god. Houses on stilts? 100%. Houses on stilts. I see that there's more messages. I'll check them in a second. But I also really love the idea of barge cities that are kind of being like pulled around this area. Something of note, bugs don't have noses. They have several small openings all across their body called spiracles that they breathe through. So they would need full body snorkels if they don't breathe water naturally. You think they have like... Okay, let's look this up real quick. Spiracles. Okay, so they're not like teeny tiny things, right? I mean, they are, but like compared to their body, they're not minuscule. So would it make sense? Would it be plausible to have them be things that can like, you know how semi-aquatic mammals, a lot of times what they breathe through, they can just like snap it shut and snap it back open. Do you think like that, like all over their body, they can just like snap it all shut? Or do the houses make bridges? That would be really cool. Let's put this under here. Houses on stilts. Some houses make bridges. So the bridges are just roofs. Bridge roofs. Half gills? What does that mean? Half gills. Let's also create a thing down here if we come up with any relevant history bits. They can intake oxygen through water and air. Why not? We can do anything we want to do. Spiracles can be teeny tiny from your understanding. If you make them unique bugs, I could see it. Spiracles that can close when submerged. I think that'd be pretty cool. Not like, you know, not as a permanent thing, like they can't just stay underwater forever. Kind of like, well, like a semi-aquatic mammal, right? They have to come up eventually. Ant aquatics. That's very funny. Ant aquatics. I'm not going to name them a pun, but that's very funny and very tempting. No. You already got a soggy win today, okay? Consider yourself lucky. Eclipse, are you still in chat? If you're here, give me a sign. Say something. I have a question for you because you're my local expert. Should we put a big old volcano here in the middle as well? Eclipse, hello. I think there are some beetles that swim, yeah. I've had the thought, I don't think you were here for. We have our world that's kind of like the center part of it that we've mapped out is kind of raised up in a sort of cliff thing. Big old cliffs that they can't even see the bottom of. I was wondering about redoing the wind currents and the climate to not be that comparable to Earth because of the weird setup here. Right? So like center of this world gets shot upwards, clouds fall down from the sky, and they've kind of all met each other in this risen up area. And I've kind of toyed with the idea of maybe the middle area is warmer, and then the further you get towards these cliffs, the colder it gets, and then the more the wind currents pick up, and the currents maybe are blowing outwards and spiraling in the middle. It's completely speculative, but I like the idea of it. Diving bell spider makes a little air bubble for itself that it places over its face so it can dive? What? Hold on. Insect removal. I hope you guys don't have arachnophobia. Whoa. Are these real pictures? Now I never know when I'm looking things up. Is what I'm looking at a real thing? Is that actually what it looks like? How do they do that? How do diving bell spiders? People are always asking, how do diving bell spider, but never how are diving bell spider? Almost entirely underwater. Trapped by hydrophobic hairs. How? I want to know more. I want to know more. So they trap air in their hydrophobic hairs, and does it just like, is their body the right shape for it to just balloon to that size when it meets the water? Cover the spiders in oil and then they can breathe. Oh my god. The cliffs, we don't have them on the map, but it would be just like out here somewhere. Out there somewhere. Apparently they also spin a little silk structure for it. So we get a silk structure, and then you drop it down and it becomes like a bubble that the air is contained within. Nature is so freaking cool. Yeah, okay. Aquatic spiders, like diving bell spider. We can have the hydrophobic hairs, the homophobic hairs, and silk bits. That'll do it, right? Yeah, homophobic hairs during Pride Month. Sorry. Sorry, you guys. Okay, and then if the middle of the world is closer to this, maybe it's a little bit toastier as well. Maybe we bring this back and lower the opacity. And we'll orangify this stuff a little bit. Just make it a little bit warmer like this, eh? Living diving bell spider. Is that what I wrote? Why did I put living? What am I doing? You could have something fun where the winds all come down from the cliffs and meet at the center, spiraling together, a permanent storm at the center. That is what I'm thinking. Although, the cliffs are not above the world, they are below. It's like a table, and then it drops. But I do like the idea of storms swirling in the middle. I think it's okay for us to be a little scientifically speculative, right? That could be the fallen clouds, like the storm at the center. Absolutely. Okay, let's see if the trees look stupid. Let's see if they look really stupid. Which one looks the most like a cloud? No, we can just randomize it. We can just randomize them. May I not click them? I do click them. There we go. Let's just drop these in. We'll make them bigger than they actually would be in the world because look how, I don't know if you guys can even see it on the stream. It's tiny, tiny. Hello. Hello and welcome in. We're doing a little world building. These are clouds, not trees. Wait, can I get rid of the shadow beneath them? It says shadow none, but it looks like there's a shadow. Welcome in. We're having a great time talking about the SOG and aquatic bugs. I think I make these even bigger. I don't think it's going to look exactly like a cloud, but as long as it like communicates the idea. I mean, it does kind of look like a cloud forest, doesn't it? That's actually kind of cool. It's the closest we're going to get, unless Kaylee offers up their Incarnate Pro subscription. And then we can get real clouds. That looks a little bit silly, but it does the job. It does the job. We love soggy aquatic bugs. We do. Okay, let's get back to the SOG. We have our cloud trees. So these are just things to keep in mind. I'll put this under a thing that just says context. We have a relatively warm climate. We have nearby volcano, maybe. We have nearby cloud. Fallen clouds. Yeah? Something like that? Let's put a big old volcano here in the middle before I forget it. That's... Let's just drop that there. And then if I select it, let's try a different blend mode. It could be called the Cloud Graveyard. Oh my god, you guys are giving so many good ideas. Okay. Nearby fallen clouds. Let's call that Cloud Graveyard. That would probably have some implications too. If it's called Graveyard, people who go in don't often come out. Ship graveyard in there too. They try to sail through, they crash, they die. Oh no, so sad. The ant folk would be a fishing culture. Let's put these under the giant ants. Fishing culture. Ants eat fish. Volcano named Eye of the Storm? That's epic. Eye of the Storm. That's cool as hell. That's cool as hell. Okay. What is the orangest we can get that? Probably color burn. Probably color burn. Overlay's not bad. Yeah, let's go back to color burn. Okay. We have our volcano. And we return to the Sogs. Okay. We have a fishing culture of ants. I'm imagining them, like, making these fishing contraptions that they can use with multiple legs. Ooh, or make bridge of bodies hold net in water between themselves. When it erupts, you can get some really cool interactions between the volcano and the storms. What happens when volcanoes hit storms? I like these ant people. I like them a lot. Do you think the ants a stormcano? I should know more about that since that's what my research is, but brain hurt. That's okay. Everything you give me is very, very helpful. So I will take whatever I can get. I have been learning about volcanic eruptions for my procrastination book part 2. So I know a little bit, but I've not learned about how they hit storms. You can get more lightning and cool lightning. Let's put this back in the other tab, the main tab. Whoa, why do that? Let's go over here. When volcano erupt in storm, cool lightning, more lightning. That's enough for now. Okay. Are we imagining the ant people like as a they're their own independent culture? Are they a dominant culture or humanoid culture? Competing cultures? There's a lot of ways we can go with it. Would there be something to do with ash? Because when volcanoes are up, they give out lots of ash, and maybe that can somehow carry ash in the storms. Oh, 100%. The ash would go crazy. On a volcano this size, the ash would get deposited around, like, the whole map. Everywhere. What if the volcano culture calls lightning skyfire? Yes, they do. Okay. Culture on Volcano Island calls lightning skyfire. That's cool as hell. Pyrocumulonimbus. Pyrocumulonimbus. Whoa. I used to have a book on clouds and was a pro at this, and now I'm not. Literally same. Literally same. Oh, what is the name of that really cool cloud formation that looks like waves when you look up at it from the bottom? And it's like a really rare formation. My favorite type of clouds. Hey, Nightbot. How's it going? Magic Treehouse research books or something? Thank you, Brick. Oh my god. You used to know that? I can picture them and the word is like on the tip of my tongue. Cloud type that looks like waves. I'm gonna be so mad when I see this because I'm gonna know what it is. Not Sweetwater clouds. Not roll clouds. It's these clouds. It's these. Have you guys seen these? What type of clouds is these? Oh my god, you guys, I have to move my car for street cleaning in a second. Yes! Asperatus clouds! They are so cool. They're so cool. Okay, I need you guys to hold down the Sogs fort for just a second. This will only take me a couple minutes. I have to move my car for street cleaning and I will be right back, okay? Don't blow up the stream. I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you. So it's your with it's Your. Cooked her soggy, your honor. What is going on? Good Lord. There's so many messages. How do you type so fast? I was gone for like 3 minutes. Soggy Court. Ballerina Cappuccina. Fish. The Soggy Court like the Summer Court. Oh my god. The Court of Ogs and Bogs. It's Bradley on his hardcore streams. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean. All of you to 10 years inside a volcano. You're being tried? For what exactly? Welcome to the trial of our Shadowling. May we now start the trial. Put your hands up if you think our Shadowling is guilty. I don't know what for, but yes. Disorder, disorder. This is why you're on trial, Rye. This is why you're on trial. Oh my god. Okay. Where were we? Homophobic hairs and silk bits? Oh, this music is doing a lot. Is it too much? That's better. Everything you say will be held against you. In a court of Twitch chat. A court of Twitches and chats. Alright. Can we get a Rye stamp on Incarnate to put inside the volcano? Sorry, Rye. It's been really nice knowing you. But all good things have to end in a volcano. So, what am I gonna do? Be with the volcano snails. Oh my god. Alright. New best friends, the snails. Back to our world. I feel like it is important to decide if we want it to just if we want it to be ant people doing everything in here, if we want multiple peoples. We want multiple cultures. You hath angered the snail god. Oh my god. You think the ants would be the majority, but not the only ones? Oh my gourd. Why, keep opening that. Oh, is that shift? No, it's not. Okay. Alligator people. There's a giant snail outside. Now you've done it. Maybe majority population. That shouldn't be tabbed out for the fish category. Help. 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 Why can't I Google Docs? There. Wait, no. Nobody look. Oh my goodness. Snails have chainsaw-like tongues called radulas. Snail tongue. Radula. Good lord. I don't think I like them. I don't think I like them. I think the ant people should live in intricate cave tunnels underground so there's an underground empire. That would be really cool, but they'd have to be way underground here since the ground is so wet. I don't know how well would that work with our fishing ants setup. Ant tunnels? That is what the snail outside has? I bet. That's what you get. They can swim, yes, but they're semi-aquatic. So they have to spend, well, at least currently they're semi-aquatic. So if they have to spend some of their time in the water, some of their time out of the water. I need my juice. So far, we've done a bunch of, like, animal-based cultures. Which is great. We can keep going. Do we want any humanoids? Or even just humans in the area? Or there's worms who compete with the ants by living in the soggy water. Oh my god, we did mention giant worms before. We love worms. Leeches. Leeches? Why leeches in all caps? Worms and leeches? Mushroom people would be epic. Little fungus people that live in the watery growth of the swamp. Mushroom people. Even if not people, giant leech monsters in the sogs would be sick. Gotcha. Okay. Giant leech monsters. Mushroom people, yes, yes, yes. Mushroom people is sick. Mushroom dance, mushroom dance. Mushroom people that have a mycelium-like network, but it's in their heads. Mushroom people that can communicate with one another over a long distance because they're connected like mushrooms are connected. Are there any birds? We've not made a single bird yet, but you also see pretty much the entirety of the animals we've made right here. I'm going to put down mycelium? I got it right. Connection. I got it wrong. Okay. 1L. Is an honorary member of the egg cult. I feel like there needs to be a creature which looks like an egg and has legs, and it steals eggs from nests by disguising themselves as the egg. When they're found, they run away. Oh my god. Egg with legs. Poses as egg to eat other eggs? Eat other eggs? It's called the legs. We're not doing these puns. You can't make me. You can't even make me. When we get affiliate, I'm gonna add one of those, you know how you can boop the things with the points you get from staying in the chat in somebody who's in affiliates chat, and you can like do special things in the chat? I'm gonna get one of those that allows you to submit puns. then you'll have a limit. Is there an organism inside the egg? Using the shell like it's a snail? That's cool as hell. Creature in the shell of an egg. Using it like a snail. Eating other eggs to make its shell stronger. That's cool as hell. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have egg, we have mushroom, we have ants. Those are the main ones so far. We've got a few other things that we've thrown in there, but I think those are the main ones so far. The calcium thief. That's what chickens do? But stones, not eggs? They do? We don't have birds yet. But, I mean, like I said, this is all we have. These are all the animals, so we're adding as we go. We want some birds? We'll make some birds. Long leg bird. Legs are like the pest of this world. When I first saw that, I thought you said the priests. Your chicken eats a lot of rocks? Yeah, we got a chicken in the chat. Long-legged bird. Makes a lot of sense in the SOGs. She is orange, just like a cat. What breed is she? She is orange. Totally off topic, but if you make a big cave area, then there should be moss people. I mean. Moss people in a cave. Big cave. Absolutely, we can have moss people. Seeing as she eats rocks, it sounds like an orange breed of chicken. It really does. Maybe they're at war with the ant people for no particular reason. Oh, how funny. Who could have seen that coming? Did you make a giant orange chicken that the mushroom people use to sail across the water? And does it eat rocks too? Is this a bardcore song? It's not. It really sounds like it is. Okay. Keep throwing out ideas as much as you come up with them. Lots. It eats lots of rocks. I want to go back to the ants, though. And I want to flesh them out a little bit more, since this is kind of where we started. More on ants. You like the song? It is Cantil by Celestial Eon Project. I can send you a link. Copy link to song. And I send in my DMs. Where's your face? There we go. Enjoy. They have long legs, so they hop along the water. On top of the water? Like a water strider? What if the ant folk use stilts to walk amongst the sog and the bog? That could be really cool. Okay, so let's start posing just some big cultural questions. How do they eat? Sleep? Raising young ants? The stilts are chicken legs! Oh my god. They eat fish. They sleep in bridge houses. Raising young ants cannibalism? What are you guys on about? Okay, so fishing for fish. Net bridges? Do we want to give them fishing poles of some sort? What if they have to keep their eggs out of water at all costs? Well, is there something threatening in the water? I don't think ant eggs would be targeted by the egg, right? Can they go to ant school? where they learn fishing technique. Stilt fishing, eat plants too. They focus big on building stilt nurseries to keep them up high. I was just thinking they'd fill with water and drown. I mean, if they're semi-aquatic animals, that could make sense. Keep them out of water. Up on high stilts. If we're doing that, then the natural consequence would be animal, maybe bird, evolved to target these nests. That's how it goes. An old technique like spear fishing, but they use stilts. Do you think like they're up on stilts and they do the fishing, or like the stilts are doing the spearing, like they're stabby stilts? Do we think they're bad swimmers? Like that scene in The Croods where they run away from the giant chicken with the egg. They make their own nests to put the eggs in? I think so. Don't ants have spear things, horns from their mouths? Yes, they do. Mandibles? Chitin exoskeletons would be heavier, so youngins would sink easily and thus be kept away from swimming until they mature. That makes a lot of sense. Young ones not allowed to swim. Too heavy chitin. I think it does make sense for them in general to be ants are bad swimmers. They can swim, but they're not great at it. They just can do it. Fishing is the adult culture. I think that makes sense, yeah. The young ones don't do it as much. Do you think the young ones have a different job? Like maybe the young ones are the ones who spend more time in the tunnels? Spend more time underground? And maybe then they're less exposed to the dangers on the surface? If they're spending time underground, though, then it would make sense for them to put their nests underground and just have them hatch there. So I don't know. Are there different types of fishing? Do they find other items in the water? Definitely could be. I think we have nets and we have spear fishing so far. I've seen Mad Max. I kind of imagine the stilts as the ones the crow fishers use. I've not seen Mad Max. What if they eat the worms in the mud? That would make a lot of sense. The worms eat decaying parts of the ants which drown. Mudlarking? They could have a mudlarking culture? What is mudlarking? Okay, crowfishers. Whoa. I didn't know Mad Max was cool like this. I've never watched any Mad Max. I thought it was just people, like, racing around in the desert. That's cool as hell. Maybe they also hide underwater and catch fish in their mandibles, but only for, like, feeding individuals and families, not like a fishing industry. That could be really cool as well. Let's put spear fishing as well. Walking on stilts. What was the name of this? It's for my reference, like crowfishers. Hiding underwater and snagging fish with mandibles for low quantity fishing, I guess would be a good way to put it. One of the absolute best scenes in the movie. Honestly, that's a good sell. It's like a one-off scene. Well, that's upsetting. What is the ant sewage system? Not this question again. What is the ant sewage system? The worms. You do mudlarking on the river Thames. If ant people have multiple pairs of arms, then having more stilts works. Absolutely. Larking is collecting items that the tide washes out. So, like, sifting in the mud? Scavenges the banks and shores. That would actually make a lot of sense, because we're talking about floods in this area. Let's do mudlarking after floods or high tide. That'd be really cool. Let's hit the baby ant problem again. So, I feel like there is a little bit of a choice to be made with, do they have tunnels or do they go full in on the stilts? Given the environment, I think the stilts might make more sense since they'd probably have to go very deep to get away from wet earth. And then the tunnels would just be collapsing, right? Especially if there's big worms underground that could just come along and chomp through a bunch of babies. I kind of like the idea of ants that don't dig. What if the mudworms are called mudlarks to the ants because they wash out with the tide? So the tide comes in and the ants wash out, or the worms come in, the tide washes out, and the worms go out. Stilts would work. Tunnels could flood easily. Absolutely. Okay, give me a little more on the mudworms washing in and out. That would have to mean they're not, like, very far underground, right? Let's get rid of the young ones, spend time underground. We're not putting them underground. We keep them out of water. We have some natural predator for them that would have evolved over time. And then the young ones can't swim yet because they're too heavy. So then what do the young ones do, right? Because they're still going to be expected to do something, to contribute something. So if they can't swim, maybe they're the mudlarkers? The adults do the swimming, and the younger ones do the mudlarking, where the tide comes in, drops stuff off, and then they're doing the scavenging after the water has receded and it's safer for them. What if they scoop up mud from the bog and dry it out into bricks for their construction? That's cool. Okay, let's put a new thing here. Construction. Drying mud. Scoop on to back. Then dry into bricks. The mussworms. The mudworms are in the surface of the mud near the water. When the waters are strong, they get washed out in clumps of mud inland, and the ants collect them, so the ants call the worms mudlarkers or mudlurkers, because then they pick them up and eat them. That could definitely work. Should we put that under eating? Worms get washed out in high tide. Almost like after it rains, all the worms come up onto the pavement. Like this world's version of that. Mud lurkers? Could make sense. Then they eats them. What if they weave reeds into wicker armor that they wear for protection and fashion? I was actually thinking about, like, if they have multiple limbs, are they somewhat dexterous and they can do, like, weaving? Because I was thinking about this with the bricks, too. Like, would they make enclosures like that, like a wicker frame, in order to dry them out in so they form in a specific shape? They don't need metal because they already have an exoskeleton. Protection and fashion. Or maybe it, like, stops things getting too close. Maybe a worm soup or salad. Do they cook and create foods? They certainly can. They certainly can. Let's... Where do I put this? Okay, one thing at a time. Let's do weaving reeds. They could make, let's say, frames for drying mud. They can make wicker armor / clothing. And then building stilts and houses. Or can their houses turn into boats? I think we'd mentioned raft stuff. So like their houses are bridges and maybe barges. Maybe some houses are stationary and some move. In terms of eating, do they cook? Do they cook? This is a question. Okay, well, I guess it depends on what you mean. If it's just combining ingredients, I think that's easy. But do they cook? Do they use fire? Are they that advanced? Heatless food. Ants are cooking. Just how ants have caste. What if there is a permanent population of settled stilt house dwellers versus the more mobile raft house dwellers? Maybe each group does a different role in society. That would make a lot of sense. I'd say they don't really ever use fire because everything is too wet. That makes sense. Not with fire. I think a fireless society makes a lot of sense. Ooh, what if there's little lightning bugs they put in jars as lanterns since they don't have fire? Lightning bug cages for lanterns. Wandering Tarantor is an ant which worships the snail god, but whose house is a moving raft, so they go and sell wherever the tide takes them. That's a fun concept. They could preserve or pickle foods to preserve with them since they can't use fire. They make lots of pickled foods. That could actually be really cool. They could work with clay, I bet. Their construction, clay jars. What do you need for pickling? How does one get vinegar? Would they have access to vinegar in their environment? Let's do housing. We'll have, I guess, like, central culture that is stationary on stilts. And then roving barges. Let's just say that for now. And then maybe... Sorry, it's like way at the bottom of the screen now. Let me bump this up. Traders that pull around and or. Let's make this an and or. Go where the tide takes them. These could have relation to Snail God, since they are mobile. Hey, Nightbot, how's it going? Bacteria culture. What is vinegar really? Aren't we all vinegar in the eyes of God? Let's do this. How does one make vinegar? They pickle the mushroom people and eat them. Oh my god, like leafcutter ants who cultivate fungus. What? Ant removal. Ant treatment, ant control, insecticide. Animals are so freaking cool. Okay. That's epic. Farm fungus like leafcutter ants. Do the ants have a medical system? I don't know. How is vinegar made? Ethanol? Fermented fruit. Fruits and leftovers. Then they could theoretically make vinegar, right? Could pickle and preserve food. And then roving ones sell things off their barges. We can have the pickled food. We can have fungus, clay, and wicker crafts. Okay, let me catch up. They cut leaves and pile them up to make food for the fungus, which they then eat. That is so cool. Salt helps heal wounds. An ant hospital. Rub some dirt on it. Mud healers. If they're getting floods all the time and there's a bunch of salt in the mud. Not the quack doctors. You've got to be stopped. Do they eat a lot of sashimi too because of all the fish? Let's, I guess we'll put this under health. And then we can say, consistent floods means that the ants have access to very salty mud they use as, Band-Aids, basically, right? Do the ants have drugs? You might have to answer that yourself. Pufferfish toxins? Rub salty mud on it, the duck advised, but I knew better. The ducks don't have PhDs like Barry, they're all a bunch of quacks. Where am I at? Where was I going? Consistent floods mean they do flood. Housing. Okay, I'm wondering. I'm just putting this out here. Maybe some ants live on the very edges of the bogs, of the sogs, sorry. Because major floods have taken them that far. There's a few, like, outlying colonies where they've just been pushed away by the water and they're like, okay, we'll just settle over here. I think we do need to answer the question, if they're repeatedly living in this one place, it is a difficult place to live, obviously, with all the water, all the floods, everything that they're going through. What advantages does living in the water give them? Does it give them a better escape from predators? Does it give them better food? Is it easier to get food here? Is it just because of the frequency of trade? Do they have something that they get from the trading in this region that they need to survive? You follow? Why are they staying in this region when there's so many challenges to living here? Is there a governing body? I was wondering if, like, in the central area that's not a bunch of barges where they're not moving all the time, if that is, like, the ant queen, right? Kind of like in real life, centralized queen. Probably protection from predators and a strong economy from trade. Maybe they have no other choice. They definitely have other choice. They could just walk away. But trade makes a lot of sense. But then what are they getting from it? If they're doing all this, so far we've described them as relatively self-sufficient. They have their food, they have their young, they have everything they need to live so far. Why do they need trade? Why engage in it? Who are the predators further inland? That's a good question. That's a very good question. Let's make just a new section. Why do they stay here? So far we have trade as an idea. Inland predators are a great idea. Hold on, I'm trying to catch up. What if their religious belief is that they were molded from soft mud that hardened into their chitin exoskeletons just as clay dries into bricks? They were literally like crafted from the environment. That's cool. Let's just put that in beliefs. Molded from clay and mud. Oops, that's there. Exoskeleton. What hunts ants? Anteaters. Religious reasons would be really cool. But then that also... Hang on, let me catch up. Birds, but they fly? That makes a lot of sense. Flying anteaters would be crazy. I was thinking, like, if the bird is coming to eat, if there's a natural predator that has evolved to try to get the ant eggs on top of these stilt nests, what if it can't really land very well in the sogs and it has to come from inland? And so if they go further inland, the risk increases, but out here, the chances of them actually hitting the nests are lower. Inland predators, let's just say the flying creatures that eat the eggs come from inland. I don't think we've really defined what they are yet. Eldritch horrors which can fly. They pick up ants, but they're incredibly homophobic, which is why people think holy water keeps them away, but it's actually the water, not the holy. Holy water. There's frequent storms that would make flight difficult. Snails are desiccated by... Uh-oh. 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 You're right. You're right. Let's just put that down here. Snails do not like salt. That could be an interesting conflict. So... I know we have mentioned a lot of things like, oh, the ant god and the storm god and all sorts of things like that. Here's the thing about religions when you're world building. If you make the reason that a group of people are staying in a specific region because of religious reasons, then that has an impact on their entire culture in terms of the excuses they make and the decisions they make. And it is, in a way, a big hobbling factor for them culturally. I mean, we see this happen in real life. So if they're making a decision about adjusting their entire lives based on their religious beliefs about a certain area, then that is... I mean, to put it bluntly, going to make them unintelligent about a lot of the choices that they're making because they're going to use religion for an excuse to do anything with their lives. So that would be the culture that we end up creating based off of that. That's always going to be the case if they're rooted in an area purely because of religion. They will let themselves die for it. They will sacrifice themselves for it. It's a huge kind of snowballing effect. So we can roll with that. Absolutely. It would be an incredibly interesting culture. But that is the consequence. Maybe they get sunburnt easily too and use mud frequent cloud cover to protect themselves. That's interesting. Could that work with chitin? Can we adjust chitin to be like very sensitive to the sun so they can't leave the region? Does the water ever get electrically charged from the storms? That is a really interesting question. I don't know enough about that. Let's put that here. Does water get charged from storms? Are they ever at risk for that? Could they harness that? If there's a lightning storm nearby or a heat storm nearby, could they use that? Or are they scared of it? Do they have to escape? We seek refuge in the song from inland predators, and religion is only comfort. That can make sense. But as long as it's the inland creatures that are the reason they're staying there, and not the religion. It's dicey. Even when you're using religion as our comfort in staying in this place, they will still culturally, unless we make them think, unless we make them psychologically very distinct from us, it still snowballs. Is a charged water a source of electricity? That could be fascinating. Salt water does conduct electricity, so if there's enough lightning strikes on the salt water, then yeah. They could make stoves to cook food then. They could. Okay, let's see. If we... where do we put this anymore? Harness currents from electric storms with salt-laden water? I don't know if that's a good way to describe it, but that's what I'm putting there for now. How would they conduct it, though? You need, like, a conductive metal or something? They would have to make batteries of some form to hold the electricity when there isn't lightning. That could be really cool. I guess we'll keep that in construction. Could have batteries for storage. Wasn't there some hypothesis that you could have, like... It was something like nickel and iron rods in a clay jar. I don't remember if I have the metals right. I think that's purely speculative. Storm hunts. When lightning strikes the salt water, literally fucking everything nearby dies, which leads to the ant folk to organize quick scavenging parties to collect the fried fish. Storm hunts. This song is doing a lot. Hold on, I'm gonna get distracted. Okay. Severe lightning strikes. Kills everything in the water. But not on stilts. It's not how you spell stilts. Stilts. Severe lightning strikes kills everything in the water, but not on stilts. Hold on, I messed up my sound. There we go. Hunters go out right after to collect fried fish. Very cool. If the ants get harmed, do they wear protective rubber gear? Rubber gear is a whole other thing, because then they have to have access to rubber, which I don't think would work in this environment if I understand how rubber is made. I think they'd have to escape on stilts. Or barges. Wherever they're not wet. I guess whoever's in the water is just gone. What if the burned fish with fried water? Instead of using fire, they just use electricity and water to fry things. What do they eat? Using electric currents in water to fry things. Lightning rods. Could wear some type of rudimentary Faraday cage. Yeah, that is a whole other thing if we want to give them access to metalworking. That's a significant technological advancement from where we are now. Mudlarking. Minerals from the water they extract. That could be really cool. I'm thinking of the Baghdad battery. I am thinking of the Baghdad battery. Which I think is proven to be fake. But it's a cool idea. Harvested from the mainland. Hello, Mr. Theories. Should we ban Mr. Theories? Trade routes? Rubber comes from trees? Yes, it does. And then harvested from the mainland. We could have them... Well, this could be a thing. Don't pin that! This could be a thing. They could have, for their trade, right? This is why the economy is a good thing for them. Why having themselves in a trade position is a good thing for them. There's a group of ants that collects the rubber. That could be really cool. Instead of using furnaces or oven, They keep electric eels in big pots to shock things on command. That's cool. It couldn't be called batteries unless the person who made the batteries was called Battery, because that's an eponym. Just like the can of French braids. Shock frying. Okay, I finally caught up. Good lord. Oh my god, and we don't have that much time left, you guys. I'm gonna self-plug. If you haven't and you want to be here for the next world building stream, hit the follow button. We'll probably do this every Friday. Maybe batteries are called lightning cages. That could be really cool. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. I hope you enjoy. And I have my alerts working. If anybody wants to unfollow and refollow, maybe you'll pop up. Okay. We gotta start wrapping up. Brickmaster, Mossmaster E, thank you for the follow. Sogmaster E, thank you for the follow. I hope you enjoy your time here. Eclipse Hen, thank you for the follow. Moss Hen. I follow Bradley everywhere. Oh my god. Our Shadowling. Our Mossling, thank you for the follow. I feel like one of those TikTok NPCs just repeating the same thing. Oh my god, Mr. Theory's official. Mr. Mossy's official, thank you for the follow. This is gonna mess with my Twitch statistics so much. You got 5 new follows today. Hey, we're one more closer to our 25 though. That affiliate, it's in sight. Okay, I'm focused. I'm here. I'm centered. We have a few more minutes here before I have to go. Can the ants read? We should give them a language. We should absolutely give them a language. Do you think they write in like clay tablets? Or they could have a stranger writing. In my procrastination book, I based one of the writing systems off of the Incan style of writing, where it's like the knots of string, the differently colored knots of string. Papyrus for making scrolls. I think clay tablets does work pretty cool. I think it does. Yes, I don't know how to pronounce it. Quipu? Is that how you say it? Quipu? They're called the antlers. Kipu. Kipu. We could do, okay, let's put this in writing. I should have organized this just a little bit better, but this is how it is now. Clay tablets. We'll definitely have that. We also haven't really talked about language at all. Did the ants click as part of their language? I think so. I think that would make sense. The mandible clicks, absolutely. Writing. Mandible click language. These ants are looking really cool right now, you guys. Okay, so how are we keeping their harnessing of electricity to the eels in a pot, or do we think they are really harnessing currents through mud or something like that? They probably carve reeds into styluses to inscribe the clay tablets. That would make a lot of sense, yeah. We'll do reed styluses. They receive inferior copper ingots, then they can properly complain. Written language could be a bit like Morse code, like to communicate the clicking, right? It's like little clicks, little symbols to communicate the clicks. Absolutely. Like the eel pots more. Eels may be easier since lightning is really hard to work with and inconsistent. That does... Yes. Nasser? I don't know what that means. EA Nasser? What? Eel pots, but they mudlark the fried fish after a storm. I think that makes a lot of sense. Where have I put this? Okay, let's take out the electrical currents part. We have the storm hunts and we have the electric eels in a pot. Sumerian merchant who sold shitty copper. We found negative Yelp reviews for him in a clay tablet. That's so funny. That's so funny. Okay, let's briefly, as we're wrapping up, also go back down to trade. We'd mentioned rubber. Rubber from inland to protect from lightning strikes. That could be pretty cool. Is there anything else that they get from this? Why do they stay here? We also mentioned sun sensitivity. I don't know how well that works with our ants in this world. I don't think it does. But I don't see why we can't come up with a reason it works for these ants. Sun sensitivity. Does the sun reflect off the water? For sure. Well, unless it's very muddy water. I think it's just like this area is so water-laden that there's a lot of mists and fogs and cloud covering that it would be safer for them. But also trade with storm guides if we're still doing something like that. They absolutely could. It just comes back to the point of, so far we've described a relatively self-sufficient culture and not many deficiencies. A culture that trades a lot needs deficiencies. So what is their deficiency? Rubber was a really, really good one. What else are they missing, particularly that they could get across this big ocean area that they would need? That is the question. They could be overcrowded, so they don't have enough to go around. Could be overcrowded and need more resources because they populate very fast. That makes a lot of sense. Sand for glass, metal. Glass would actually make a lot of sense. That's an easy one to give them that might be harder for them to make since they don't have access to fire. In terms of copper and metal, ants popular. Wood for stilts is not a bad one either. Wood, that's a very good one. Hair to pick up a bunch of oil spills in their water to kill the fish. Hair is a really good way to soak up water. Hair and or a way to soak water from oil. Maybe seeping up into their land. String and or binding agents. Binding agents could be really interesting. I assume they can make something along the line of string where they are. The lack of metal is really up there. It is. We just have to... If we give them metal, it changes a ton in a culture, right? Like pretty much every culture we have in our world is defined by the point where they were able to access metal. Even if they couldn't work with it, being able to get metal from another culture. And so that completely changes what they can do, right? All of their cooking and everything, their housing, their travel, it all changes with access to metal. Do the ants need weapons? So far, we've described them more as people who hide than people who fight. And people who have armor to protect themselves rather than people who attack. So if we give them weapons, I don't know. We can make that change. It would be a change. But yeah, I do kind of agree. Probably no metal for them right now. We've gone kind of like pre-Bronze Age for them. Do some have stingers? That could be interesting, like as a natural defense. They do need hunting gear, so they do have like, you know, their spears or whatever they have for that. Obsidian from the volcano would be super interesting. Maybe they could place in their armor for armor spikes, right? Like they have spikes along their back if they're going out and they need extra protection. They could have natural protection. Under health? I don't know. Acid spitting. Stinger. Fred says we don't have metal privileges. Obsidian is extremely brittle. It is, but it has been used as tooltips, right? Would Obsidian be more the volcanic island people? Because we didn't say there was a volcano culture. We did, but if they're trading through the storm... Is their strength as a consideration in the fact of terraforming? Interesting. So far, we have a lot of them being more mobile instead of trying to change their environment. Do we think we would do that? Do we think they would do that? Obsidian is basically just glass. Correct. Right, but if we, not like as an armor, but imagine if you had like a bunch of like, you know, wicker striations and you like slide a little shard of obsidian up through it, like little spikes that are pointing up. If they're sharpened just like you would with a spear tip, a tool tip, that would still work. Could obsidian be the currency? That's interesting. That's very interesting. If we make obsidian as currency, that would make Volcano Island very, very rich. If we're going with that idea that birds are one of their predators, then do their buildings have giant spikes on the roof to keep them away? That makes a lot of sense. Anti-bird architecture. Housing. Spikes on roofs to keep birds away. Are there different types of obsidian? I've no idea. No idea. Obsidian is shiny. Could the volcano culture be a bunch of crows who love shiny things? That could be really cool. The roof spikes do make for a really interesting visual. Let me see if I've missed anything else. Do something with flathead ants. What are flathead ants? There's snowflake obsidian for one. Let's look that up. Snowflake obsidian. And let's real quick put down crow culture. Likes shinies. Volcanoes produce a lot more condensed minerals than just obsidian, do they not? Look up turtle ants. Let me do that in just a second. You're right. If we're making the roofs be bridges and spikes would hurt the ants. We can adjust that though. We can have parts where they would be able to land that are easier for them to. Or we could have spikes go above like little covered bridges on top of the roofs. The ants use ash from previous eruptions to create something. That's really cool too. Well, let's put that in the volcano culture. Volcano people use ash to make things? Maybe. Hey, Nightbot. What if they suspend rope bridges from the roofs? That could also be really cool. I think we've already established they have access to wicker and stuff. So we could do that. Okay, you said turtle ants? And then I think Mr. Theory said... Oh, wait, I wanted to look at this, though. Said flathead ants. Oh, that's beautiful. I have some of that. Flathead ants. Oh, they plug the holes with their heads! Volcanic crows and soggy ants. This is a cool world thus far. Yes, it really is. They could use water vines as ropes. They definitely could. Their heads are the doors. Oh, that's so freaking cool. Okay, hold on. Let's put this in here. I don't... Some flat-headed ants are doors? Just gonna throw that in there. All right, we need to wrap things up for real because I'm supposed to be getting on to Nearcraft soon. Like now. Maybe they make helmets shaped like that. Maybe they make helmets shaped like that. That's really cool. Maybe they make helmets shaped. I can't type like that. Oh, there's not enough time. Next week we'll have 3 hours. Next week we'll have 3 hours instead of 2. Turtle ants. Oh, it's the same thing. Right? You gave me the same kind of thing? Interesting fashion statement. This music is so fitting for the time. That's literally what I was just thinking. It's very fitting for the time constraint. Okay, so in summary, we have the Sogs full of ant people. They're kind of a trading ecosystem that work a little bit with the volcano people that might be crows and like shiny things and live within the fallen clouds in the center of this world. They can use their heads to scoop mud. Let's put that in here too. I can't type. All right. And we have a culture that's reliant basically on the tides that go in and out, right? Things get washed in. They do mudlarking. The younglings do. The older ones are able to go hunting for fish and can actually move through the water, even if they're not super good at swimming. And then we have the centralized area, perhaps with a queen. I don't think I actually put that in here. Let's put that under housing. Queen in central stationary area. And then other barges go out and travel. Some just move with the water. Some might travel more purposefully and get to trade with other cultures. This is a really freaking cool start to this. For our first culture in this world, this is looking pretty epic. Let's go back to tab 1, and we're going to do the same thing we did before, just real quick. Last minute thoughts. Maybe they could farm aphids. We could do that. Farming something like aphids. I wrote a whole story, a whole series of stories when I was in elementary school about aphids and how they secretly fought the South in the Civil War. We had to write stories about the Civil War, and mine was about aphids. I don't know how I got here. Why did I write arms? Why did I literally just write down arms? Okay, next week. They were based aphids. They had like this pulley system where they like strangled people by like having thousands of aphids drag a rope and yanking people up into trees. It was crazy. I wrote that in 5th grade. Next week, continue ant culture, build volcano culture. Maybe let's talk about religion. And I think that will probably be enough, because we talk about this stuff for a long time. Do some animals mutate in this world if they're hit by lightning? That would be crazy. Okay, let's add that in here too. Lightning strikes mutating creatures. All right, you guys, we're going to have to call it there because I got to get on to Nearcraft. I'm late. They're waiting for me. But this was so much fun. I'm going to be streaming maybe a little bit on Sunday if I have the time, and definitely on Tuesday and Friday again next week. So I will see you guys then. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you for helping me make beautiful ant people. You guys are wonderful. Bye.